And welcome back to the Real Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Jacob O'Connor. Real Conversations is a podcast for those dedicated to doing hard things and living a meaningful life. This belief is perhaps best encapsulated by a quote from the great Teddy Roosevelt. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, nor where the doer of deeds could have done them better. No, the credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena. With that being said, welcome back to another episode of Real Conversations. And this is the St. Louis Marathon recap episode.
Oh, that was good, man.
I know we didn't
That was
laugh.
awesome.
Bueno.
I looked away the whole time.
I'm not gonna. Was that a struggle for you, Quinn, not to laugh?
I was trying to make sure that I wasn't just like even doing anything stupid. I was just like drink a little bit of the water, like try to act as normal as I possibly can.
And you said you had to look away.
Yeah, I just looked away, but I was looking at the screen, so
yeah, you guys
trying to monitor you.
You can't see John on the screen either right now.
That's okay. My hands will make appearances, and it's kind of tough if I have to like lean way.
We're both like leaning like that. Yeah, I love the introduction because like it needs to set the tone, and I think it's important for like we have a lot of first time listeners who have started listening, so you need to like set the tone, let them know what it's about. But it's also hard when you're with friends. Like we've got Quinn Robertson here, we've got John Peterson here, and it's hard to do serious things in that company.
I mean, I feel like that's a positive thing when you're with friends. Like if you're serious with like, nah, that's not a friendship I want to be a part of. I got to do stupid crap like that.
Yeah. And well, we did the stupidest of crap last weekend. So the boys and I, as well as Evan and his family, and then a couple of his relatives ran in the St. Louis Marathon last weekend. So the boys made the trip back to St. Louis, and we learned a lot about ourselves, and we had a heck of a time. And we've had a lot of people asking about various posts and different things we put up online. So we figured we'd do a St. Louis Marathon recap. And then I wanted to do like a two-parter, the second half being maybe some details and actionable insights for how to run your first marathon. Because that was like an overwhelming comment is, oh, I could never run a marathon. It's like so many people were just kind of like, no, I couldn't do that. That's way too hard. And I just want to scream, yes, you can. Like you can totally do it. Don't put that limitation on yourself.
That's totally true. It's I remember back when I was doing like the high school running stuff, even in college a little bit. I always tell folks, well, can you run a mile? If the answer is yes, well, you could probably run 2. If you can run 2, you can probably run 3. And then you just stack your way up to like, yeah, I could probably do a marathon. You just got to inch by inch your way to mentally get there, I think.
And then the more that you do that, the crazier you become. And ultimately you're doing ultra marathons at that point.
Yeah. There's a level of craziness that I haven't gotten to and will choose not to for a little while.
Yeah. So we didn't train a bunch for this marathon, especially Quinn. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the Saturday before the race, we were with Quinn at his apartment watching NCAA basketball March Madness. And we were like, hey, we're doing the St. Louis Marathon. You should sign up. Halfway as a joke, maybe. And Quinn signed up, and a week later ran the marathon.
Yeah, I think it was my girlfriend leaned over and basically said, like, there's going to come a point in your life where you can't make stupid decisions like this anymore. And so that was sort of the turning point for me, end up coming in. But yeah, stupid decisions end up with fun outcomes. So it was all right. It was all right. How long did you guys train for? I actually don't really know. How did you guys train?
Well, spring break was thrown in there. So
Yeah,
that was like a week and a half, 2 weeks where I did not train.
That was resistance training.
Yeah, that was a rough one. That was a rough one. But I would say I ran a little bit before spring break, which was like March. Spring break was what? March 10th through the 17th or 18th or something like that. Something stupid like that. And so probably ran a couple miles like a few weeks before that. And then after that was probably the part of the training, I would say. So 3 weeks, 2 weeks.
Yeah, just
2
about
weeks, probably.
Yeah. I'd say we went hard for like a week before spring break on training. And then on spring break, I did a couple beach runs, which was actually really good. I think it was great for like building up those little tendons in your ankles for like resistance and whatnot. And then it was really hard running on sand. So I feel like I actually got some positive benefit from that. But yeah, we went hard the next week after spring break on training, and then maybe like the next half week. And then we tapered for that last week. So I'd say not a ton of training overall.
You guys do realize that most marathon athletes, the people who do this stuff, like they have a solid running base, and then they have like specific marathon training guides for 6 months or 9 months. And that's like the normal people. And so you talking about like me was a week and you guys, it wasn't like 4 weeks was this extended period of time. So that's amazing to me. Amazing.
Yeah, I think the way I at least look at it is I knew I was going to finish. It was a matter of like what time and like what are your priorities in finishing, because from running like the long runs, like a training run for my 100 was 33 miles or something like that. So it's like, okay, I know I can run a marathon. It's just what shape am I going to be in? And so we set some goals. John, you can talk about yours, but mine specifically for that marathon, number one was to finish. Number two was I didn't want to walk the entire time, which was a big one for me because whenever you run ultras, I usually do like a 3-1 where I run 3 miles, walk 1 mile. So I split it up a little bit. And then the third goal was I wanted to finish in sub 4, less than 4 hours. John, what goals did you have for that marathon?
My first one was I wanted to finish. I had the same goal of not walking. And then I think my time goal was like 4:30 or something, or somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
it was good goals.
Yeah, and I think mine honestly was just finish. Walk across the finish line. Do not crawl across the finish line is the only thing I cared about.
Even if you crawl, man, still counts.
That's true. That's a very valid point.
Yeah, this was such a cool experience. Like it was so much faster than the ultras. Like that was so weird to me. It's like it was on the go. Spoiler, I didn't end up walking the whole time, which I was very happy about, but that was so weird. It was just like the entire time you're running for 4 hours at a time, not stopping, and you're eating on the go, you're drinking on the go. I had a blast. I really loved it.
John, I'm curious for you, like you're a powerlifting dude. You're the guy that's like lifting weights, plays basketball, 6'8" or whatever, however tall you are.
Yeah, give me your height and weight here, Pete.
Yeah, let's throw this out there.
Yeah, I'm 6'7", 230 right now.
Good night.
I don't know what I was on race day, but
wow. Yeah. But like your body just like that, and then like the small, compact, petite runner, like marathon runner people's like there's just a dichotomy that's there. How did your body fare on race day?
Well, I'll preface this with I didn't finish without walking. I walked a fair amount and I didn't hit my time goal. So we'll preface it with that.
Womp, womp.
I know it was unfortunate, but at least I finished and I was happy about that. Totally. And I think I gave it my all throughout the race. Honestly, I fared pretty well. I mean, for the most part, I felt really, really good up until 20 miles because that's pretty much what I had trained up to. My longest training run was 18, I think. So I felt fantastic up until 20 miles, and then 20 miles hit, and everything hit the fan, and it was terrible for the last 6, I would say. So, and it wasn't like, okay, so here's the weird thing, right? My Instagram is up on the screen there, my beautiful face. The interesting thing is like my cardio didn't have a problem with cardio, which I think is usually the consensus when you're running long distances at not super fast paces. But the problem I had was cramping. Once 20 miles hit, my quads started cramping, my hamstrings were cramping, and my calves were cramping.
Doesn't that feel like death?
It was terrible. It was probably, I was in pain. I almost cried a couple times.
Yeah. And I pulled it up John's Instagram because he's got the video of him crossing the finish line. Here's the boys on race day. And if you're watching this on Spotify or YouTube, you'll be able to see. But John gave it his all right here. Buddy was out there dying, but he ran through the finish line like a champ.
Can I say one thing, though, too? And we'll probably get to this, but whoever made that course, I really hate them. I really hate them thoroughly.
Yeah, that was not pleasant in any way. Like that's intentional. Like there's not a scenario where you're like, oh, I accidentally did that. No, that was intentional by whoever did that.
Yeah,
they wanted to create everybody's hell.
So a marathon is 26.2 miles for those that don't know. And in St. Louis, we were running in like the downtown area. So it was really cool. We got to run by the new Major League Soccer stadium and got to see the arch and run right by the arch. All of that was beautiful. But you get to mile like
18.
Yeah.
John, I knew that vividly.
John's got it written down in the back of his mind.
Oh man, dude.
You get to mile 18 and you're over by the water. And so when you look at it on the course map, there's not a ton of elevation and you're thinking, oh, we're running by the water, like the Mississippi River. So it'll be on this flat level area. You'll be able to look out over the water. It'll probably be kind of like, you know, a cool moment. And that was not what they did. These course makers came up with some just cruel torment. And they had us from mile 18 all the way to, was it 24 is the turnaround?
22 was the turnaround.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That would add up. Yeah. So 18 to 22, you are running on what is like pavement/gravel roads that is going up and down as a hill. And you've got this giant concrete wall. So you can't even see the water next to you. And the sun is just pouring down on you. And it went on forever because there's all these blind turns. And I thought to myself personally, this is the turnaround point. You did it, man. You're almost there. This is the turnaround point. Nope, man. You turn right. You keep running up the dang hill. You kept going. You kept going. And I didn't think we were ever turning around.
No, it was frustrating on my side because it was just, but the other hard part is like, you got me, you know, turtle bobbing in the back, going really slow with everybody. I see all of you all turning or like after the turnaround, because you go 4 miles out at 18 and then 4 miles back after the 22-mile turnaround. And so I'm seeing all of you guys come back. And so every time I see you, I'm like a half mile from there. Like, I'm not too terribly far behind. And the more I kept going, I'm like, man, I am so far behind these guys. It's ridiculous. So yeah.
That was the longest 4 miles, I think, of my life. And I saw you guys, I went, because the finish line was at the 18-mile mark. You ran past it at the 18-mile mark. And so you were seeing everybody finish way before you. And I was like, okay, no worries. Those are the really fast people. I'm just going to go down, run down, come back, whatever. And then I get to mile like 19 or 20, and you and Evan were sprinting back. And I was like, wow, they're way ahead of me. I have like 3 more miles until I get out to the turnaround point, and then I have to come back. And I think that combined with the AirPods dying really
I didn't know that. Ouch.
Yeah, it took a lot out of the soul there.
The AirPods dying is like the pebble in your shoe. It will make a huge difference. Something seemingly so small.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I was happy. I need to do an episode with Evan because I'll be interested to hear his perspective and whatever else. But I had one of my best races. I was very happy with the outcome.
You guys looked really good coming because I think I probably passed you guys around mile 23. You guys were coming back at 23 at that point. I mean, you looked good from a form perspective. You guys were going at a pretty solid pace at that point. So, I mean, even when most people hit their wall at mile 20, which is like well known in the running community, like you guys still looked really good coming back. So it's not surprising, I don't think.
There was a handful of trial and tribulations for sure. But like I started off, I was timid. Were you guys nervous in the first couple of miles, or was that just me?
I wasn't.
I didn't feel too nervous. No.
Really?
I was very confident, actually.
Yeah. I also had like low to no expectations. So that's hard for me to get nervous about.
Some may say too confident, John.
I was way too confident. I was way too confident, man.
Yeah. So to go sub 4, you need to run like a 9:15 per mile, I think, right around there. And I was very nervous. And so I started off running like a 10:30 and then a 10:21. And I was running with my Uncle Bud. And Evan took off with like the 9:15ers to try and get that 4 hour, cut. And I was like mile 2 or 3. And my uncle could tell how nervous I was. And he's like, look, if you want to like go catch up with Evan, he could see that I was like kind of starting to inch up. He's like, go take off now, like go do it. And so from mile 3 until the very end of the race, I ran sub 9s or right around 9s. And so that was awesome. Like I did not think I could run that fast for that far without walking, but it just goes to show if you take enough salt pills and you eat enough electrolytes, you're good to go.
That's one way to think about that. For folks that are listening on the nutrition side, I wouldn't recommend that necessarily, but you can put your body through some pretty amazing things. That's a very true statement.
Yeah. Well, it came to bite me in the butt a little bit. So at mile 19, I did hit a wall. It was mile 19. I was dying, dude. I was like, oh my gosh, that's when my right quad cramped up and like I broke stride. I didn't walk, but I broke stride. It looked real ugly. And I was like, Evan, oh no. And he was like, no, we're not doing this. Keep going. And so I kept running. Mile 20, my right hamstring, same leg, cramped. And so now I've lost the right leg. Mile 21, left quad. Mile 22, left hamstring. So I've got both legs down and I am dying. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And Evan's like, you need more electrolytes. And so I took like 6 salt pills at once, which is just a terrible idea. But I was like sending up prayers to God. And I was like, whatever I need to do to get through this, let it happen right now. And so I painstakingly took all of those salt pills and ended up being able to run the entire race. But after the race, my body was so dysregulated, I thought I was going to vomit, dude.
That's no, I don't know how you pull all of that together, but like I'm the opposite. Normally when I used to do running back in the day, like I was the person that would do almost no nutrition while I was running. I would do 1 or 2 goos, and I would do like a cup of Gatorade or a cup of water every 5 to 7 miles or so. I didn't have a water bottle with me. Like I don't know is the answer on that front. It was not healthy. I do know that because the fastest marathon that I ever ran, I ended up in the medic tent afterward, and I had hypothermia and I was dehydrated beyond belief. And so I was there like under a blanket for like an hour after I finished my race. So it was, yeah, that is the outcome that you get when you choose to run that way. So
that's when you qualified for Boston.
That one. And I ran that one in Tulsa, the Route 66 marathon run.
Do you remember roughly what your time was?
I think it was between 3:03 and 3:04.
My gosh.
It was right around 7 minutes per mile. Cause that was basically like my goal was not only qualify, but run. Like my goal was like 6:59 per mile. If I can hit that 6:59 per mile, then like that feels good to me. So
jeez, that's crazy.
That's wild. Was it cold when you were doing the marathon?
It was that was a cold morning. I think we started off in roughly like high 20s, low 30s. And then it got up to like mid 40s, but I don't think we ever cracked 50 degrees until after I finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So for you, being someone who was a very good marathon runner, qualified for Boston, ran Boston, and then you hadn't trained for a long time, randomly getting up off the couch running a marathon, how was that for you?
It was validating in that I could still do it, and I couldn't do it well by any stretch of the imagination, right? I think I was close to double my time from when I was back in training. But it was just nice to be able to, with no training, be able to come out and actually migrate 26 miles. For folks listening, I walked probably the last 5 or 6 miles. I hit mile 20. I probably didn't run after that. So, but it was, it kind of got me back into thinking I kind of want to do more of this as well. Because if I feel like I can do that, like there's no training and being able to go and do that, like what could I do with a month of training? So there's sort of that like mindset now that I'm in right now.
We should all go to Boston together. We should all qualify together.
I mean, Boston's coming up here in the next week. I think the race might actually be this coming Monday.
I'm gonna need a lot of salt pills then.
You would need a lot of salt pills.
I don't think my body would fare well with that.
John will not be running with
I will not. I will be at the aid stations cheering you guys on.
John, are you was this the first and last marathon for you?
No, so it's so funny, right? I crossed that finish line and I was cussing. I was not happy. I was in pain.
You were in the medic tent.
Cramping. I walked over the finish line and the guy goes, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I can't walk." And so he's like, "Okay, let's get to the medic tent, whatever." And we get right into the medic tent and I'm just like, F this. This is stupid. Why did I ever do this? I'm never doing this again. And he goes, "Yep, I've heard that before." And that's all he said to me. And then, I kept saying that. It was pretty much the rest of the day. I was like, this is dumb. This is really stupid. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, I'm not really happy with that performance. I'm like, I need to redeem myself.
The seed has been planted.
It's so bad. It's exactly what you said, though. It's like you realize that you can do it and you realize that you probably could do it better next time. So now I'm like, okay, I won't do it soon, not in the next probably 3 months, but I'm definitely going to do another one.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Cause yeah, it's like this. Could I run 10 seconds faster? Yeah, I probably could have run 10 seconds faster. And then if I could have run 10, I could have run 20. It's that continual incremental thing of, it does start to eat at you for a little while. And I imagine when you were running you were training for your 100 at that point, that's probably a similar mindset that you had on like miles up or time or something like that. I can imagine.
Well, even with this marathon, Evan and I were texting afterwards and we were like, okay, that was fun. we did well. Like it hurt. I don't want to like glorify it. No, it hurt really, really bad. And I thought that I was going to die a couple times, like over exaggerate for sure. But anyways, Evan and I were texting. We are like, dude, what if we trained? Like, what if we qualified for Boston? Like that'd be a great time. So now that seed's been planted and it's like, all right, what does training actually need to look like for a marathon in order to perform really well?
If you need any training schedules, give me a shout. I got a couple of them stashed away that I can get over to you.
Yeah, go ahead and send those.
Will do.
But it'd be also fun too. Like we're all talking about the seeds been planted to do a group marathon. Like I would love to get more of my family involved with it. I know you mentioned you'd love to have your family. I'm sure you've got people too, Quinn. I really enjoyed doing that with a great support group around us. Like everyone in our group finished. That's so crazy that everyone in our group finished whatever race they did.
Yeah, that's in general, like the running community is super awesome of just being super supportive of everybody, but having that close knit family that's in there of they're either running right next to you or they're a couple miles behind you, they're a couple miles in front of you. You're just like everyone there is getting a chance to accomplish their own goals. So you're like happy for yourself, but then you're also like getting the elation from other people as well and seeing them reach their goals. Like it's such a cool thing. And most of my stuff that I used to do was pretty solo. And so like, I loved the experience. It was really my first time doing it with a group. I loved it.
Yeah. It gives you that extra like bolt and you're so happy for him. Like I was dying after I got done. And then I heard that Jon was going to cross the finish line. This is a couple minutes later. And,
a few,
just a couple,
just a few,
and,
couple bottles of water later.
And immediately I got up and like ran over to the fence. I was like, oh, I got to be there to yell and cheer him on at the end. And it was like, I was so excited for him. And then Aunt Gina came in, then Zach, and then you. And I was so happy for everyone. Like so good for everyone to do that. Like you don't think you can, and then you do it.
I know. I remember laying on the ground and just being like, ow, ow, ow. And then I'm like, where's Quinn? I was like, has anybody seen Quinn?
Yeah, it was, it may have been a few minutes after that I ended up coming through. Cause
we were all pretty close though in time.
Yeah, very close, very close. You could look at the times right next to each other and not even notice a difference.
It's a toss up who actually finished first. I mean, shoot.
Yeah, there's that. Jon, what was your actual like finishing time?
I think it was 4:56.
That's awesome.
So
you did go under 5.
Yeah. What was recorded on the website anyway.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was just under 5:30. So I was an hour and a half behind you and I was 30 minutes behind you. And it was also funny because I crossed the finish line and I went over to the sort of like the aid stations. You were still laying down.
It was bad. I was totally cramped the whole time.
You were in some bad shape, dude.
I was in bad shape, but next time it'll be better.
I was so happy, but so upset because so the goal was sub 4 and our Evan and my Stravas got messed up a little bit with like the course because we were tracking it, trying to make sure that we were hitting our marks. And on my watch, I had like, I don't know, 17-ish minutes to run a little bit over 2 miles. This was at like mile 24 after I was all cramped and in a ton of pain. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm right here. Like I've come this far. I need to get sub 4. And so I took off and ran. In the last 2 miles, I went, I think like 8:44 and then 8:13. And then that last half mile was 7:44 was my split. So I'm sitting there like booking it in ungodly amount of pain trying to go sub 4. And I crossed the finish line at 4 minutes and at 4 hours and 2 minutes.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, you're kidding. Like, I'm so happy I didn't walk and I finished, but like, oh, and then I look at my Strava, my moving time, 3 hours, 56 minutes at an 8:56 pace per mile. And I'm like, wait, what's the difference? And I realized it was mile 11. I stopped to pee and there was a line at the bathroom. And that's what ruined my goal. If I hadn't stopped to pee, I would have been sub 4. So yeah, that rubs me wrong.
Yeah. How does that, speaking of rubbing raw.
Man.
Anybody have any interesting stories on just all of that happened? Cause it's 26 miles of, skin and clothing and stuff.
My nipples were not happy with me, but that was expected, to be honest. So I can't complain too much. They weren't bleeding. They were close, but they weren't bleeding.
Did you Vaseline them?
No Vaseline.
That seems like the first step I would have done.
Yeah, well, it didn't hurt throughout the race. It was just afterwards. So I was pretty happy with it. But I did sweat a lot. So I think that was
you did?
The abrasion probably.
It was funny every time, like after the race, seeing the salt on everyone's
yeah.
foreheads and arms, and like that's an interesting thing to see on all of that. Just what the human body does related to that.
Yeah.
Did you have chafing?
No, and I was really surprised about that because I ran my full race in a jacket and in pants.
Yeah, what the heck, dude?
It
was like 67 degrees. I'm sweating my butt off in a sleeveless and shorts. And Quinn crosses the line still wearing a hat. I think he had a hat.
Yeah.
A hat with his jacket and pants. I'm like, what the heck, dude?
Yeah, I'm cold natured in general, and I know that if I get cold, like I'm done. Like I'm tapping at that point. And so I basically like I knew from some of my previous races that like my body heat just completely goes away from my body. So I had to just sort of trap it in. And so like even finishing, I was still cold. I was cold when I finished still.
Really?
That Tulsa race when you got hypothermia, it was, if we ran in 67 in St. Louis, it was probably 63 when you got hypothermia.
It probably was. And I'm just like mentally 100% exagerating that 100%.
So do you not sweat then very much?
Not a ton.
Really?
No, not a ton. Even like I in the summer, I'll find myself going and running in 99, 101 degrees, even if it's like 2 or 3 miles. And like, I'm sweating a little bit when I get back. Unless I'm going really fast, and then I might, but yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't feel like he drinks enough liquid to sweat though.
It's a valid statement. That's a valid
statement. But he might just retain it all. He's like a camel. just retains all the water.
Yeah, I'd say one of the things that we all learned on this is what we did from a nutritional perspective. Like, don't take all of that and do it yourself. Like, we probably are the example of what not to do. Like salt pills and my water intake and all of that.
We need that medical disclaimer. I don't want to get sued again.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Again.
No, to be fair though, Evan and I were reading the packages. So at the very end, when I popped those last couple of salt pills, that was the only thing that was like off par. All of the goos and pills, like we were taking them by prescription on the bottle and on the bags and all of that. So we were at least good there.
It's cool.
For the most prescribed.
Imagine. No, the over-the-counter salt pills. Get them at your local REI.
Not a sponsor.
No, they're not. Actually.
They need to be a sponsor. Yeah. Heck, if we're doing some more of this stuff.
That's true. Dude, it is expensive running. That's what I've realized. It's accumulated, but between a good pair of running shoes, a Camelback, signing up for races, the nutrition, travel. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's time, it's money. And like when you start to, especially when you train for marathons better than we do, you go through a pair of shoes in 3 to 6 months or something sometimes. I mean, you're putting like hundreds of miles on these things. So yeah, it's ridiculous. And the fact that running shoes are like $140, $150 these days. Wow, that's a lot.
Crazy.
But it's crazy. They're pretty cool though.
I was gonna say it's necessary though. You have to have a good pair of running shoes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I didn't really have too much of like blister issues or anything with. I think it's good shoes. I'd credit that too.
Yeah, I'd say so. Same with me as well. I had just gotten a new pair of shoes a week before because I'd probably put like 1,000 miles on my previous things. There was like holes and dirt everywhere. It was bad. And so we ended up going and getting a new pairs the day after that I signed up. We're like, yeah, we should probably go to Fleet Feet and get you a new pair of shoes. And so I was breaking those bad boys in for the week before.
Yeah, John, I want you to, we were just talking about shoes. You had an interesting blister solution that I want you to talk about here.
Yeah. So I guess, what was it, a week before or a week and a half before I ran 7 miles, and I was cooking on that one. But it was on a trail. So, not solid asphalt or anything like that. And I ended up getting a weird blister on my foot. And that weekend we were supposed to run the 18 to get ready for the marathon. And I was like, well, it's still pretty exposed. It's still hurting me a little bit. I didn't have any, what do you call it? Athletic tape?
Oh yeah.
I didn't have any athletic tape. So I was like, okay, I'm going to double sock it on the first layer of socks. I'm just going to throw some duct tape around it. And it worked for the 18. And so then I was like, well, I'm not going to change it for the marathon. So I ended up just duct taping my feet for the marathon. Everybody thought it was funny, but it worked. It was just the compression. There was no movement, or exposed skin to the movement of my shoe. It was all that duct tape.
My favorite part was you struggling to get the duct tape off at the end because you were so done with it, but you were like, you didn't have a knife or anything. It took you a minute to get that duct tape off.
It did, in fact, but we got it off and my feet were saved.
Did it hurt like hell to get it off though? Really?
It wasn't on his foot, it was on the outside.
Oh, okay.
So I had like one layer of sock, and then I threw the duct tape over that, and then I put another sock over it.
I thought there was going to be like on your actual skin, and I'm thinking of like, okay, the sweat in your feet and then pulling the duct tape. Oh gosh. Okay, that's better then. That's better.
It wasn't bad at all.
And I guess we're kind of talking about like preventative measures. This segues into running your first marathon, like general tips and advice and stuff like that. And I would start with probably not necessarily how far you run, but just getting time on your feet. Like you don't need to start off by going and running 7 miles. Just go walk for 2 hours. Like just get some time spent on your feet and start to build that up would be my first maybe action item.
That's totally true. Cause a lot of the potential pain you're going to feel is, I mean, there's like joints and all of that, but it's just continued stress on them. Even if the stress load is really low, it does start to accumulate. And so you just have to build the tendons up, just build up the bottom of your feet and all of that. And so there's having all of that is really one of the biggest components for me. And even there are a lot of folks that say even when you're training for ultra marathons, you don't have to do it all at once or at race pace. Celia, my girlfriend, was frequently saying that when she was doing her 40 or 50 mile runs, like she would break it up over the course of like a day and do a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, a little bit late at night. So you really, even if you're starting off, you don't have to just go 0 to 100.
I have no opinion on this because I did not get enough time on my feet, apparently.
Well, I know, but like just general tips and things, insights from your experience.
Oh man, I guess I don't know. Definitely running a lot. When we did that 18, I felt terrible at the 18-mile mark, and then 18 during the race felt pretty good until 20. So I would say just building up that repetition of, maybe hitting a point and then feeling terrible at that point, going a little bit more the next time, and you'll feel a little bit better then. So
yeah.
Building it up.
If folks are wanting to think about their first one, I would, and the way that I would think about it is like, if you can do a 5K, don't feel like I have to do a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, like, and all the way up. If you do your first 5K, sign up for the half marathon.
Yeah.
Like go and see if you can push your body a little bit further, even if it's not at a time that you want, but just go and start getting to the next one, and go a little bit further than you can, even if it's not at that time. That'd be the thing that I could think about, because that you mentally get closer and closer to your goal, I think.
And when you're training for that goal, you don't need to run that distance every day of the week. Like you can just do 1 mile one day, 3 miles the next day, a couple miles that day, and then just dedicate a Saturday or Sunday where you can have a long run, a lot of time on feet. Like on Sundays, I think I would typically try and go for anywhere from like 2 to 4 hours on a run or a walk or something like that to just really build up that resistance we're talking about.
Yeah. And you don't, and a lot of folks will say, if you're training for like a marathon, as an example, most of the time your longest run, you're not running close to 26 miles, right? You're running maybe 15 or 20 as the longest run that you'll ever do. So you don't have to feel like, oh, I'm running all the way through 26 on my race or before my race day. So yeah, it's, and I would say even think about like speed sessions and stuff like that too. People frequently don't think about like, oh, I'm running 26 miles, I need to think about my speed. But if I'm wanting to do that, if you can do a shorter distance, but at a quicker pace, then you can go a slower pace for a heck of a lot longer. And so there's a lot of that. There's probably a physical component, but it's also a mental thing too.
Yeah. I'm a big proponent of weight training too. I know that we may differ there a little bit. But I like, whenever I'm training for a race, I'll do really high repetitions. So I'll drop the weight low, and then like the muscle groups that I think are going to take a lot of impact in this race, I'll really try and hit them hard and long for extended periods of time.
I also like the stretching aspect of everything. I think that's really important too. And that's important for everything. I mean, not even just running or weightlifting or whatever, but just general health and stuff like that. So I think that's a big proponent of, making sure that you stretch out those little tiny muscles that don't get used a whole lot and stuff like that. And, even the long ones, just stretching everything out.
Yeah. Because you're definitely at a higher risk of injury when you're training for this stuff. So that recovery process, I'd list stretching as recovery, like the mobility and the different muscle groups that you may or may not be using. Like I hop on a Bosu ball almost every day when I'm in the weight room. It's just like that half Bosu ball. So you stand on it with one foot. I work on my ankle tendons. I've had really bad ankles over the years from basketball. So I'm always constantly trying to strengthen those smaller little muscle groups. And John and I have different various stretches we'll do. So there's a lot of like small exercises where it's like, you're not building up that sexy muscle. You're not going to make your bicep bigger by doing that, but you're preventing and lowering your chance of being injured, which is really important with the longevity of running.
Yeah. And it's kind of a binary outcome, right? If if you're not injured, then you have a chance of success and actually getting to the starting line. You get injured anywhere when you're actually training, you're kind of down and out for it. So it really is a huge part of that too.
Yeah. And then John and I love recovery. We like to hit the sauna as many times as we can, probably 4 or 5 times a week.
Probably too much.
Yeah. And then ice bath, I think, is huge too for this. I know that a lot of people don't do it, but just get yourself a horse trough. It's $90 to $100. Fill it with some water, get some bags of ice, dump it in there, try and get 11 minutes per week. But I mean, over the course of leading up to the race and then the day after the race, we were in the ice bath like every day, just like during that taper week, trying to make sure all of our muscles were good and reset and like fresh and ready to go. And I think it made a huge difference for us.
Did you guys do any of that day of, like afterward, after all the things, like in the evening, or did you wait 24 hours ish?
We waited 24 hours. We would have done it the day of. We just didn't have ice.
Okay.
So we did it the next day, but
nobody wanted to go get ice.
No, we were all plopped on the couch.
I 100% understand that. I had to drive back to from St. Louis to Wichita.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was a 6-hour drive afterwards, and that was not pleasant.
How did that feel?
Yeah.
Did you cramp at all, or did you feel pretty good?
I didn't cramp. It was more, so I have terrible posture in general. And so my lower back was killing me just from the run. But then I also was sitting in a car with terrible posture as well, like kind of slumped down a little bit. And so I think my lower back just started to spaz a little bit about halfway through. And so it was more just like I was sitting in really like uncomfortable positions for the last 3 hours is what it was.
That brings up another tip for me. Cause my back spasms a lot too, or at least it used to, especially when driving in the car for extended periods of time. But I've always had like a pretty bad lower back. And so when I started running, I started hitting abs really hard. So I do abs every day for every day that I work out, which is probably 6 or 7 times a week. And I have not had any back problems. So I think at least the physical therapist explained it to me. It's like the stronger that you can make your ab muscles, the more that you decrease the load on your lower back. And so for anyone who's worried about their lower back or may have lower back issues, really try and focus on developing your abdomens.
So you're saying I don't have abs? Is that what I heard from that?
Precisely.
Okay. Duly noted. Thank you.
Let's get some squats in here, get some curls. That had nothing to do with it.
I was like, I don't know where he's going with this.
I meant sit ups. Dude, I just spaced out for the past like 10 minutes here.
Yeah.
It's been bad.
I'll add 2 Vaseline. Anywhere that you might have friction, I'll Vaseline my feet. My armpits, dude. It's weird. They started chafing during the race.
Really?
That's a new area that I'll be Vaselining. But that's another thing for running too that you may want to consider.
Trying to think. I mean, I had like an Under Armour like skin tight thing. It was thermal because me and heat and all of that. So I wonder if that helps me a little bit because it wasn't. You would think that like it's so compact that you would have like the little micro friction for so long, but
right.
I didn't have any issues, thankfully. So that worked out all right.
Well, you have the benefit of just being a unit and a half too. So
yeah, that's what they call me. That's what they called me in high school as I was walking around. Yeah.
A unit and a half.
Like half unit.
How did you feel the day after?
It's funny. When I was actually training for this back when I was a younger, more limber me, I would have like the day of wouldn't be terrible. The next few days would be miserable. And it was the exact opposite this time. I was miserable day of, but I recovered within a couple of days and I was perfectly fine after 2 or 3 days. I had like a lingering Achilles issue, but outside of that, it wasn't terribly bad. So it was a really strange feeling for me going through the inverse of that, but I was walking around comfortably on Wednesday and Thursday. So I'm not going to complain.
Sounds like you need to get back in running then.
Oh no. Yeah, that seed is planted with me as well. So
we'll be out there on Sundays, man. You know where to find us.
Yeah, that's true. It's even if it's not the running part of it that's enjoyable, it's the family time, it's the family time, getting a chance to hang out with the friends. So that's a big part of it.
Yeah. Not often do you have anywhere from 1 to 4 hours to talk with another person where it's like you can't really be on your phone because you're running, you're not watching TV. It's like you are running and your best option is to talk unless you want to really think about how much this hurts.
I will say that was one of the biggest disadvantages for me was it was just boring.
Yeah.
I was just not having a good time. After a while, I mean, we didn't run together. We kind of all went at our own pace except for you and Evan.
Yeah.
And so I hit like the 2.5 hour mark. I was just like, I tried to listen to podcasts. I was trying to listen to the news, some music, like
real conversations,
everything, dude, everything. And I was just so bored. I was like, I'm ready to be done with this. But
I remember, I think it was around the first mile. You and I stayed together for close to the first mile, I think.
Yeah.
But I knew that you were going to be in front of me, and I was just like, I'm not dragging this guy down, or like I can't stay up with you because I'm going to hit a wall like at mile 10 or something. So next time, whenever we do the next one, hopefully I'm in good enough shape that we can at least run together.
Heck yeah.
You better be pacing me. You better be up ahead of me, and I'm chasing your tail.
Oh Lord,
I don't know about that. I'll run with the running shorts, so that way you can chase after that.
Yeah. I need this on the record because I've said this to multiple people. If you ever catch me in the runner shorts, like the short shorts, you know what I'm talking about. It is time for me to hang it up. I need someone to call me out and like a full intervention. I do not want to end up in those.
I think it would be so funny for all of us to wear that and run a marathon. I think that'd be hilarious.
Okay. Well, maybe as a joke, but the second that I'm wearing them and like, posting motivational stories in them and whatever else, no, cancel me. Like, get it over with.
That's awesome. We were so I had a friend of mine when we were in college, and he was an awesome runner by himself, but he loved to do like just the interesting little things. So he would, as an example, he ran a full marathon in a suit and then like tennis shoes.
That's something I do.
Yeah, and then he did one where he like ran across the state of Rhode Island. Now it was like a short bit, but it was like a 30-mile run, and he ran across the state of Rhode Island. Like, weren't you talking about dressing up as like a dinosaur or something?
I want to wear the inflatable dinosaur outfit.
Okay. Would you do the short shorts on the outside of the dinosaur?
I think that's allowed.
I think that'd be okay.
That'd be hilarious.
Dude,
that'd be so funny.
I want to do one where I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to let myself go and not care about my time. But if I could do that, Evan and I have talked about wanting to do fun ones where you dress up in a suit or you wear a dino outfit or a kangaroo outfit or something like that.
St. Louis has the Halloween run. So I think that would be fun. It's not a marathon.
No, I would rather do it whenever everyone else is like going hard and like fully focused and they're like, who's that guy in the dino outfit? That's when I want to do it.
So basically what you're saying,
it'd be fun though to see everybody.
That means I'm just saying you could qualify for Boston or Chicago or something like that and then show up in a dinosaur. Like that would be dope.
No, I want to qualify for Boston in the dino suit.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Because like
that would be crazy.
I'd probably have someone make like a little mix video recapping that run. And it's just me like going hard as heck wearing this dino outfit.
I don't know what to say. I don't go for
All
it.
Right. It was just silence. Okay. As we start to slowly wrap up, everyone split some times. Let's get all of our numbers out on the record so that next time we can beat them and be held accountable.
I never got mine up, but
all right, Quinn, you can go first then.
All right. I will say I did run an extra 0.1 based on my Garmin. So I'm going to throw that one out there. That threw off my time significantly.
Half hour or so.
Something like that. No, my finishing time was 5:22. I started off running about 10:30, 10:40 per mile. I even in like the low 10s. The tail end, I was running 15s, 16s. There's a 17 in there as well. So yeah, it was a tale of two halves. Was definitely my race there.
Well, then just tell people you sign up for the half marathon and give them that one.
That's a brilliant idea. Yeah, I like that.
I want to do a half marathon because I feel like my first half marathon, no cramping, I felt very good. I think Evan and I would really enjoy trying to be competitive in the half marathon field.
I was a really good half marathon runner. I loved it. It was so much fun.
Well, you were a really good mile runner too. It seemed like everything over like a mile you were good at.
Yeah. Nothing short and nothing really, really long. It seems like.
Were you able to find yours?
It's loading. So no. Go ahead.
Did you post it in your Instagram?
Yeah, but I don't think that gave it anything away.
Jacob, what are you at on yours? I'm curious.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
I ended up at a 4:02 for my marathon chip time with the 9:16. What was your mile split?
Total, or I don't know.
Did you look it up on the St. Louis website?
No, okay. I didn't.
That's fine. Anyways, I was 9:16 per mile, and then 412 out of 931. So top 50%, which is decent.
I'm gonna get this. We're gonna figure this out.
I'm mathing my way to this. I averaged across all of it. It was 12. What would 0.3 of a minute be? Is that like
20 seconds?
20 seconds? Okay. So yeah, it was 12 minutes, 20 seconds was my overall average.
I'm pulling up Jon's right now.
Wait, I got it. I do have an extra 0.1 miles as well.
I had an extra 0.2. I must have done really bad.
It's probably that was the bathroom visit. Was that one?
You took the long route. My average pace. What are we looking at here? Splits.
Total time and mile time.
Okay, total moving time.
No, wait, moving time doesn't count. That's Strava, man.
Yeah, it's okay. The official race time was 4:56. I remember that.
Okay.
Strava said average pace 11:24 per mile.
That's not bad at all, dude.
That's good.
It's about a minute longer than I wanted, but after you start walking, it's great.
Well, and you came out with like no training almost. Like that's really solid.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks for making me feel good.
Right.
Next time it'll be better. For sure.
The fact that he said next time, that's the thing that we have to continue to hold him to.
We're all in. If you guys want to run with us, reach out to @RealConversations on Instagram. Let's get this set up. We start a run group. We could do a marathon together.
Heck yeah.
Quick shot.
Wait, hold on. But if I run, Quinn, you have to run too.
I think that's how these things typically go. Yes. Yes. Deal. If you run another one, I would run another one.
Word.
Okay.
I don't care about you, but
thanks.
Because you're gonna blow us out of the water. So I don't know about Quinn, but
yes. Wow. All right. Quick shout outs real quick. Very proud of my family here. Congratulations to my Aunt Gina for completing her first marathon on her first try.
There you go.
Way to go. My Uncle Bud came back, fought after he fought from a I really lined that up like he was in a war. No, he injured his hamstring a couple weeks ago. I think it was his hammy, and completed the marathon, ran very well. Shout out to Evan's Uncle Zach. He did well. He finished the marathon.
Heyo.
And then Thomas and Kelsey, my cousins, they ended up doing the half marathon. So good for them. Evan, good work. We'll talk about it on the podcast already. You did decent. Am I forgetting anyone else, Quinn?
Biggest shout out I will say in this room right now is to your dad.
100%.
That was 100% your dad.
That was gonna be my last one. I was gonna bring up my dad, the master of logistics, the king of the course. He knew exactly where to be, when to be. He was out there with the packs, helping everyone out.
Huge help.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He wants to run the next one. I'd love to run it with him, but he was great out there taking pictures, supporting us, cheering on at the drop stations. Yeah.
Has he run a full before? I know he's done some running.
Yeah,
but
he's done a half. He's not done a full.
Okay.
So I think he could do it. You know, it's cool. It's full circle. Carolina from the ultra marathon. She did the tests on Evan and I, and then she's been like helping us train a little bit. She's actually talking with my parents right now about kind of helping them out. They've got like different knee issues and whatever else, but she wants to get them out running. And so we got this whole little group that's forming, and next time we could all be out there together.
Love it. Love it.
Heck yeah.
All right. As we wrap up, Jon, where can they find you on Instagram?
@theJohnPete.
Quinn, what's your LinkedIn? Because you're still blowing that up.
I think it's Quinn-Robertson. I think I got the actual like Quinn Robertson there. I'm pretty sure, but yeah.
Fantastic. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. It helps us grow. And if you have any feedback, let Jon know. We can blame it on him. You
Fair
can
enough.
Find me on Instagram.
I'll take it.
Find me on Instagram @theJacobOC. The podcast is @real_conversations. And if you guys are considering your first marathon, please do it. If you need someone to hype you up, reach out to us. We'll be in your corner. You can totally do it. Go kill it. Love you guys.